Majamaa, mimi mmenibulanda. Mnasikia Karen, kuna building nyingine imeanguka mjamaa. Wasawili washamanyuri, alafu kuna wasokoko ndani, wengine wamekwama. Juzi imekuwa South Sea, sasa ni Karen. Kwani dada. Inamaanisha hapa Kanero mjamaa ni kama kuna corruption inaendelea hapo kwa hiyo department ya construction. Bulanda.
Scores of people have been trapped after a building under construction opposite Karen Community Church along Gong Road collapsed. The Kenyan Red Cross has confirmed. The Saturday evening collapse prompted an emergency response at the scene amid rising concerns over potential casualties. Some reports indicate that several people may have died and others injured, though sources could not immediately and independently verify these claims.
This is the site.
The sign language interpreter. We begin on a sad note tonight as 2 people have died after a building under construction in Karen collapsed this afternoon. 7 others were pulled from the debris and rushed to hospital with injuries. Disaster response teams remain on site, carefully removing rubble as the exact number of workers present when the tragedy struck remains unclear. Investigations point to weak wooden scaffolding as a likely cause of the collapse. The incident comes barely a week after a 16-story building in South Sea crumbled, claiming 2 lives. The authorities have accused the developer of cutting corners and flouting approved architectural designs. The latest collapse has reignited concerns over construction safety standards and regulatory oversight in Nairobi's booming real estate sector.
Tukoroga nyumba ambapo nyumba imekatika tukiwa juu, watu kama 13, wawili wameaga dunia, watu wengine 11 wamevunjika. Kama mimi mguu imedungwa na miti ndani, nimekongwa na chuma mguu mwingine na majeraha tu hata ya mgongo, kichwa. Kwa hivyo niko na majeraha mbaya sana, lakini sasa wasimamizi wa nyumba tena kama sikia kama foreman alikuwa ametumiwa pesa atulipe, ameshatoroka, ajulikani ako wapi. Sasa ndio maana wengine wamechukuliwa na ambulance, tumeambiwa tungoje mpaka sasa hizi tunangoja na tujaona ambulance yote ikuja.
Kitu kinanishangaza, unapata site hakuna foreman, hakuna mwenye boma, unashangaa hata kama leo ilikuwa siku ya kulipwa, unashangaa hata pesa yenyewe hakuna, pesa yenyewe hujapata, unashindwa utalipwa lini ama pesa yenyewe imeenda hivyo. Umeumia, nasikia hospitali ni kujitegemea, juu ni emergency. Sasa hata unashindwa familia watafanya aje.
And so far we have confirmed that 2 people are dead, 7 were injured and taken to various hospitals within the city, and 2 were not injured. They just walked away with assistance of the members of the public. However, as you can see from the rubble, we cannot ascertain completely that the area has been thoroughly searched, so we will be able to conduct a thorough search and rescue to determine if indeed there are no any other Kenyans trapped in the rubble.
We can see what has collapsed today is formwork. They are trying to cast a slab, which the law requires that when you have a slab, you must have it inspected first by the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health, the Ministry of Labor, the relevant structural engineer at the site, the contractor, and then after that is when you can now go ahead and cast.
2 people have been killed and 7 others injured after a residential building they were constructing along Karen View in Karen collapsed. The 7 injured were rushed to the Kenyatta National Hospital with the bodies of the dead taken to city mortuary. The site has been cordoned off by police with officers from the Office of the County Director of Operations and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, Langata, as well as the National Police Disaster Response Unit at the site. And now we're joined by Franklin Wala, who is live. Franklin, have they been able to determine what caused the collapse?
Okay, Elif Barus, we are still here at the site of the collapse, which happened at around 5 p.m. in a gated community within Karen Estate. So the collapse building is this one, and as you can see, it was under construction. The reports that we've been able to gather so far, it is that the building, it was a single dwelling residential building which was under construction, and it collapsed at around 5 p.m. So far we've been able to get an address from the National Police Service, the National Disaster and Management Unit, which have clearly stated that 2 people died when the building collapsed. The 2 people who died, their bodies are currently being preserved at the city mortuary. But as a result of the accident, at least 7 other victims suffered several injuries, and they are still recuperating at the Kenyatta National Hospital. So the owner of the building has again been grilled by the police at the Karen police station, and for now the rescue process is still ongoing. The building is situated within a gated community that is in Nairobi's Karen Estate, and it collapsed while it was under construction. We have so far been able to establish that 2 people died as a result of the accident, and 7 others are still in critical condition at the KNH. The accident occurred at the construction site while the team was on site. We've been able to gather that they were trying to cast a slab on the first floor, and then the rubble and debris came down rumbling and hit the workers who were on site. The police, the National Disaster Management Unit, and the urban planning team from the Nairobi County have already issued a preliminary statement indicating that at least 2 people died and 7 others are still recuperating at KNH. But what we've been able to gather also, it is that the owner of the building, who is a former civil servant with the Nairobi County, is currently being grilled by detectives at the Karen police station. So far, the owner of the building has been identified, and police are saying they are still taking into consideration his statement, and they will be issuing their final statement into this issue as time goes by. The construction site was still okay. From what we also gathered, the formwork prepared by the constructor and the structural engineer collapsed, and this was a result that the constructor was using timber instead of using steel. So let's listen to what they had to say earlier on.
And so far, we have confirmed that 2 people are dead, 7 were injured. However, as you can see from the rubble, we cannot ascertain completely that the area has been thoroughly searched. So we will be able to conduct a thorough search and rescue to determine if indeed there are no any other Kenyans trapped in the rubble.
You can clearly see there's no signage as required by the law to show who is the developer, who is the project architect, who is the project engineer, who is the contractor. The law requires that when you have a slab, you must have it inspected first by the Directorate of Occupational Safety and Health, the Ministry of Labor, the relevant structural engineer at the site, the contractor, and then after that is when you can now go ahead and cast. But now it appears that was not done.
That's what happened earlier on, but behind me there's a team of experts who are just still trying to gather information into this incident. A few people are recording their statement there with the different departments from the National Construction Authority, the National Disaster and Management Unit, and they're still trying to just analyze the situation before they can issue a comprehensive statement, maybe tomorrow or Monday. But as of now, 2 people have been confirmed dead and 7 others are still recuperating at KNH. as a result of this accident which occurred at this construction site in Karen.
Nunca la ves.